Hey there, good morning. How y'all doing? I I was prompted to cover this and share this in the system because I just woke up and there was the QI, because it's familiar with me. Figures that I'm probably going to translate this in the way that we observe it and the importance that it has by the experience that we learn from it. So I was watching Stanley Kubrick, and most people that have ever followed the film industry know who Stanley Kubrick is. He's considered to be sort of an icon in the genres that he does. Okay, um, what is it? Space Odyssey. I forget the exact name of that title. But you can tell if you've watched his movies that he's very aware. But he was commenting about why, for example, with actors that are following a script, or what he called a dialogue, like in a dipole, a log, like a log scale, about why in some cases when they're shooting a film, with some actors it may take up to 30 takes, lights, camera, action, now they action, energy and motion. So the story is being acted out by those that are communicating with each other on a movie set, right? Which is a model that can be graphed in quantum mathematical information codes of codes that are in formation that are communicating with each other. And now a camera is filming them based on the frame rate speed in which the consciousness is experiencing, the frame rates that it's experiencing with the mathematical codes that we are now experiencing when the film is on a screen, for example, our mirror. So he mentioned a very important aspect of this when he talked about emotion. How did he put this? To try and see if the actor could feel within their own soul, so to speak, or their own state of energetic being, the ability to feel, not think, feel the part as if they are actually the being that they are being, as if they're really that being. Now, as we know, I mentioned this before on page 400 plus in the third edition of Alcoholics Anonymous about director of programming, scripts, following the script, all the world's a stage with Shakespeare, the roles that we play, casting directors, casting spells, movie sets, The Truman Show, etc., right? Particularly with artificial intelligence, which is artificial light, it's not real light, and how this actually does apply when I was a child growing up about what we call getting real. It's one of the reasons why when I'm on a camera like this that's filming me, it is not going to be the same because it's not natural. Okay? What's natural is when I'm not on camera, which means I'm going about in the natural way in which I normally experience what I am in energy that is flowing through an energy field. So when it comes to making movies or acting in movies, when there is a script and that there is a story that is being told through the camera, it means that they're trying to act or replicate something that doesn't exist. Because there's a difference between artificial light and real light when you're experiencing yourself with a soul and a spirit that is in that light, which is what love is. And love, as the way that we define emotion, is energy in motion. So love is a powerful emotion. So when you're experiencing the powerful energy in motion of a Godspeed vibration mated with a goddess, you become a monopole and you're on fire. Now that you're on fire, you can imagine what it's like to experience yourself as energy in motion. So when you realize as above, so below, we can monitor all the action, which means observing ourselves in an avatar playing the role on the movie set, which is a simulator running on finite light. So it's one of the reasons, because I followed, obviously being an artist and a musician, an original musician and creative artist, right? There's a big difference between living your light, what we used to say as children, get real, which means you don't have to pretend. The energy that represents the cosmos, which is the highest intelligent energy that is driven by being on fire to create it with, then you can imagine you're in your own movie. You're the author of your own story. You're living the story that you're experiencing with the energy that you are, that you're doing it with. Which means nobody else is controlling your journey. Your soul's journey, guided by your living spirit that is in your living light, which is real light, is not a fake. It is the real McCoy. So when we're living our lives as the real McCoy, because we have healed from our trauma, and that allows us to be who we really are, because we're not living in fear, to be and share and communicate who we really are, which means there are no masks. No one is masking who they really are. That means that the whole universe of everything that is out there is expressing itself and showing itself as it naturally would. Unless there's a reason not to show its stuff out of hypersensitivity to how you would react or we would react, or how they would react by doing that, right? Like decloaking all the ships. Now all of a sudden you look up, the scroller, I call it a scroller. Wow, the real universe, look at all the ships up there, wow. They've always been there. They just didn't show themselves. See? So now when you get into masking holographic technology, now you begin to see how that works. When I was a child growing up, because you can read it. You can read the mathematical codes represented by the operator of the vehicle. That's right. So I always used to enjoy movies that have the ability by the skill of the director, or because there's so many people that are involved in pulling it off, right? But being able to pull your energy in, as if you're actually there with them when they shot that movie, at the location and the time in which they did it. So that if you're sitting in the seat in a movie theater, you're not aware of yourself being sitting in the seat. In other words, you're not aware of your physical being, your physical self. This is Dr. Monroe talked about this, astral projecting yourself. Okay, so in other words, that's like going back in time, where your conscious is actually present on the movie set at the moment in which they're shooting all these sequences, because that's what they are, because they're linear, because they're artificial intelligence in a simulator. Okay, they're not experiencing being a tryptamine like plant, right? Like peyote or ayahuasca, right? Or somewhere in the Amazon. Okay, they're not. In other words, they're not playing music rooted and grounded to mama, right? So when you're walking through nature, you are naturally experiencing the music that's in nature, and that's the natural flow of music. Which means we're not trying to replicate or mimic something that didn't really happen, but they are experiencing something that is happening because they're following a script. And that's called pre-formatting the codes, or pre-planning. In other words, this is what we're going to do in the future. We're going to shoot a movie, but it's not real because we're going to make money off it. So we're marketing who we are as actors. You know, back in the day, the Roman Arena amusement, which now we get back to endorphin kicks, right? Hey, sell them all the stuff, popcorn, ice cream, all the sugar, all the candy, right? So that while you're watching the movie, being distracted by their movies, now they're selling you all the stuff out there during intermission, right? Take a look at everything they're selling, pounding the waste product of metabolism. So they're getting you both ways, right? You got to pay to get in. And then you pay them for all the stuff they have sitting out there, just like they do in all their stores, right? They study how the endorphin kick, right? The pleasure center, kick that pleasure center right off, right? And then that becomes part of the programming. Okay? So everything that they produce is to hold you captive to not only the pleasure center, but all the addictions that come with it as a result of what? Trauma, experience in war game theater with artificial intelligence. That's right. Anyway, what a way to wake up with Stanley Kubrick. Have a great day. I love y'all. Be good to yourselves.